My eldest sister became infatuated with the actor, who preferred women with bound feet. She voluntarily had her feet bound to win his favor. I risked my life to stop her, and her feet were spared. Later, my eldest sister entered the Eastern Palace and eventually became the crown princess. I sincerely rejoiced for her. But on the day she became the crown princess, she severed my limbs, pulled out my tongue, and poured ice water over me all night, freezing me into an ice sculpture. Holding a sword, her eyes bloodshot and filled with hatred, she said, "It's all your fault. I can never see my beloved again." With a swing of her sword, the ice sculpture of me shattered into pieces. It turned out that even after becoming crown princess, she still couldn't forget that actor. When I opened my eyes again, my elder sister was taking off her shoes and socks and picking up a short knife. I quietly backed away and closed the door. Chapter 1. After I died, my body, shattered into pieces, was buried by my elder sister under several red plum trees, becoming food for the plum blossoms. My frozen head was given to a vicious dog as a reward. On the day of my death, she wore the bright red attire of a crown princess, dazzling like a ray of sunlight. Before I could approach her joyfully, several palace attendants kicked my knees, causing me to kneel in pain. They then dragged me to my elder sister's side. My eldest sister's lips, red as blood, smiled so beautifully. But the next moment, her expression turned icy, her gaze dark and menacing, as if she hated me with a vengeance. I couldn't fathom why my beloved eldest sister, whom I had revered so deeply, would personally bind me. She ordered them to sever my limbs while I was still alive, then sat calmly on a carved redwood chair beside me, listening to my screams while sipping tea. I couldn't understand. This was the eldest sister I had revered every day. How could she be so cruel to me? I begged her over and over. "Why are you doing this to me?" She walked over, took the scissors from the palace attendant, forcefully pried open my mouth, and cut out my tongue. I was on the brink of death, with blood flowing everywhere. Her eyes were blood red, like a demon from hell, filled with hatred. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't stopped me, I would have already been with Zhao Lang, living happily ever after. Why did you stop me? Why did you take away my chance to be with him? So, you truly deserve to die." That actor Zhao Lang was a famous performer at the theater, with eyes that could captivate anyone. But beneath his handsome exterior lay a life of luxury and debauchery. He was no good person. He frequented brothels and especially favored petite beauties with delicate feet. I never imagined that my elder sister would still be obsessed with such a vile man, even after becoming the noble and esteemed princess consort. My mouth was filled with blood, and just as I was about to faint from the pain, she poured bowl after bowl of icy water over me, leaving me writhing in agony, unable to live or die. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Go in peace. Your fox-like mother will surely join you in the underworld soon." I opened my eyes wide in anger, struggling to speak, but could only utter cries. My eyes filled with tears. She turned away, and what awaited me was palace attendants pouring bowl after bowl of icy water over my body. In the cold winter, every drop of water froze instantly. The next day, I had turned into an ice sculpture. My eyes were wide open, frozen in place, refusing to close in death. As I lay dying, I swore to the biting wind, "If I am reborn, I will make her pay for her crimes with her own blood." People said that a new actress had arrived at the Spring Wind Pavilion. The actress smiled charmingly, her eyes full of allure, her peach blossom eyes captivating the hearts of all who saw her. Her voice was as sweet as a nightingale's song, lingering in the air for days. In no time, she became the star of the Spring Wind Pavilion's troupe. Every performance was packed to the brim with elite guests. And my elder sister, Jiang Xining, would secretly bring 100 gold pieces each time to support that actress. Zhao Lang. Unfortunately, the actress had a lover, a young courtesan from a brothel. The young courtesan was not only stunningly beautiful, but her 3-inch golden lotus feet were truly unparalleled. People say that anyone who has seen those feet would wish they were their own. And this Zhao Lang was obsessed with 3-inch golden lotus feet. He once declared that only women with 3-inch golden lotus feet could capture his heart, otherwise, even if a woman was as beautiful as a fairy, he wouldn't give her a second glance. Thus, this little-footed courtesan became his favorite. In her previous life, Jiang Xining nearly hired someone to kill the little courtesan after learning that the actor loved her. Later, she found out that the actor loved her feet the most and feared Zhao Lang would blame her. So she spared the courtesan's life. From then on, she spent every day trying to find a way to shrink her feet. But after trying every method, she failed every time. Later, she heard of a secret formula that claimed if one removed their toes, anyone's feet could become 3-inch golden lotus feet. At first, she didn't believe it. But when she saw the little flower queen's delicate, white feet with her own eyes, she was convinced. Below the stage, the actor Zhao Lang was mesmerized by her beauty. She finally made up her mind to amputate her own feet to be with Zhao Lang. In my previous life, when I saw her preparing to amputate her feet, I thought it was utterly absurd and desperately tried to stop her. Despite my desperate pleas, she remained resolute, until I snatched the knife from her and said that if she insisted, I would immediately tell my father and stepmother. If my strict father found out that the legitimate daughter of the Zhejiang provincial governor had fallen in love with an actor and was willing to become disabled for his disgusting obsession, he would certainly expel her from the Jiang family. She reluctantly put on her shoes and socks. 3 months later, the imperial decree arrived, and she became the empress consort, the wife of the crown prince. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself standing behind the screen. In the blink of an eye, all the memories of my previous life flooded back into my mind. The excruciating pain of my limbs being chopped off, the bloody taste of my severed tongue, the freezing cold that turned my body into an ice sculpture. Heaven had mercy on me, I had been reborn. Through the crack, I saw Jiang Xining removing her shoes and socks, with the sharp knife lying beside her. The next moment, I stepped out from behind the screen, quietly slipped out the side door, and gently closed it behind me. The Jiang mansion was in complete chaos. Upon learning that Jiang Xining had lost her toes, my father flew into a rage, relentlessly questioning her about what had happened. My stepmother couldn't catch her breath and fainted on the spot. Jiang Xining dared not reveal the truth, for if she did, she would be subjected to family discipline and expelled from the household that very day. But the next second, she suddenly crawled on the ground, crawling toward me, crying and signaling to me with her eyes. Little sister, tell father quickly. I know nothing. I woke up in the middle of the night and found myself like this. I really know nothing. Seeing her in such a pitiful state, unable to stand up due to the pain, I tightly held her hand. Sister, I believe you. Last night, after dinner, we had some tea and went straight to bed. This has nothing to do with you. Then I dragged her body, wrapped her in a flowing brocade cloak, and helped her sit on the bed to rest. The next moment, I turned around and knelt at my father's feet. Father, there must have been thieves in the Jiang mansion yesterday. Recently, I've heard that most of the province is unrestful. The refugees are either heading to the prosperous Zhejiang province or the capital city. And it's likely that yesterday, some refugees secretly entered the mansion, drugged my sister, and upon seeing that her room contained little of value, they grew desperate and severed her toes to vent their hatred. Father, my sister is a proper and dignified young woman. She would never do something as absurd as cutting off her own foot. As a young woman of the household, If this were to be discovered and spread by those with malicious intent, my sister's reputation would be ruined. Father, for the sake of the Jiang family's reputation, we must be extremely cautious. Seeing that I was speaking from the perspective of the Jiang family and that I had never lied, and even had some valid points, he tacitly accepted my words. Busy with state affairs, he had no time to think further and immediately ordered the servants to find the best physician to tend to his eldest daughter, Jiang Xining, and ensure she rested properly. After father and the others had left, I sat beside Jiang Xining, watching her grimace in pain. I picked up the medicine bowl and spoke with concern. If Zhao Lang knew how deeply you love him, he would surely fall in love with you. Did you figure it out? Upon hearing this, her eyes widened in disbelief that I already knew she had broken her leg herself. She feared I would tell our father. I feigned concern, gently wiping the sweat from her forehead caused by the pain, and whispered, "Sister, rest assured. Seeing how deeply you love your beloved, I am moved beyond words. I will do everything in my power to help you achieve your heart's desire." After hearing this, she touched the jewels in my hairpin, her face still tinged with doubt. Yes, in the previous life, I had always followed her around, urging her to be cautious in everything she did. Now she had cut off her own legs for a mere actor, and I was helping her cover it up. This was unlike the Jiang Xia I knew. I covered my mouth and laughed softly, feigning humility. "Sister, of course I have my own little selfish motives. As the eldest sister, you hold a noble status. I have always admired you deeply. My younger sister and I have never wanted for anything in the mansion, thanks to your and our stepmother's careful nurturing. Therefore, should you ever achieve your goals in the future, I only ask that you ensure our mother is well taken care of and never suffers again." Seeing that I was only thinking of the young woman in the side courtyard, she finally believed I was genuinely helping her. She pointed to a carved red lacquered box on the dressing table and spoke in a tone as if addressing a kitten or puppy. "The jewels on your head are from years ago and are no longer in fashion. This box contains various hairpins, earrings, and jewels. Take them as a gift. As long as you keep this secret, you will not be deprived of future benefits." I hurriedly thanked her, grabbed the box, and was so happy I couldn't stop smiling, as if I had received the greatest reward in the world. Then I told her to rest well and left the room. As soon as I stepped out, my fake smile turned cold and cruel. "Jiang Xining, in my previous life, I respected you. Even when you withheld firewood from my courtyard, I never harbored any resentment toward you. All the homework the master assigned, you copied from me. Every time the master discovered the answers were the same, you would immediately accuse me of cheating. What greeted me in the end was the master's contemptuous expression and the harsh rod. At the spring banquet where noble ladies abounded, you stood among the other aristocratic women, looking down on me and mocking me as an insignificant concubine's daughter. Even when a noble lady deliberately teased me, pushing me into the water and leaving me soaked and disheveled, you instead scolded me for bringing shame upon you, mocking me with cold words. I was angry. I was furious. I was resentful. But I never hated you, because my wet nurse said I must not. My wet nurse, Lu Shi, was originally a courtesan. One day, she was taken in by my father, and after giving birth to me, she was brought back to the mansion. Due to her lowly background as a courtesan, she could not be openly acknowledged as a concubine. Every time I returned to the side courtyard, filled with grievances, to cry to my wet nurse, she would respond with impatience, blaming me for everything. She said you were the legitimate daughter of the governor, of noble birth, while she, as the daughter of a concubine, was nothing more than a servant. Even if I was wronged, I had to endure it. After scolding me harshly, she began to apply makeup, painting her eyebrows and applying rouge, fantasizing that her father would return to this courtyard. But she didn't know that her father would never set foot here again. My father had already taken 2 beautiful concubines, both in their late teens, the same age as me. This time, as soon as I entered the villa, she was waiting for me. As soon as she saw me, she rushed over and slapped me across the face. "Why isn't this pain from your broken leg yours instead, you worthless woman?" In an instant, my heart turned to ice, as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. The taste of blood mixed with the ringing in my head left me unable to think clearly. From childhood, my mother had always favored jiangxining. Even though she knew I had suffered so much, she still called me an illegitimate daughter unworthy of respect, saying I should be grateful for having food to eat and not dare to speak ill of the master. I always thought that perhaps my mother had suffered too much in the past. So even though we were still poor now, it was still better than before. That's why she dared not make the legitimate mother angry, thinking that being humble could at least ensure food and clothing. So, I always buried my grievances deep in my heart. After all, she was my own mother, and a mother would never harm her own child. But when I heard my own mother say she'd rather have my legs cut off than support me, and that she'd go to such lengths for another woman's daughter, I was utterly devastated. I couldn't understand it. Was it really because she was the legitimate daughter? So even though I was her biological daughter, I wasn't worth as much as the scraps the legitimate daughter threw our way? Before I could say a word, she pushed me away, her eyes filled with malice, and ordered me to kneel for 2 hours before slamming the door shut. It was early winter, and a thin layer of snow covered the ground. Kneeling on the ground, I didn't feel any pain, but my heart felt a little better. When your heart is being torn apart, enduring physical pain makes the pain in your heart feel a little less intense. That night, my stepmother developed a high fever. I hurried to find my father and asked him to call a doctor, but my father had already retired to his concubine's room. I knocked on the door for half an hour, but there was no answer. In the end, my stepmother was kind and gave me some medicine to reduce the fever, telling the servants to boil it and send it to me, with tears and snot running down my face. I thanked my stepmother and, ignoring the heat of the medicine, snatched it from her and ran back to the guest house. My stepmother's fever was extremely high, her body burning like charcoal, and she began to ramble incoherently. I struggled with all my strength to help her sit up and fed her the medicine spoon by spoon. She mumbled, "Master, why haven't you come to my room? Is it because I've grown old and ugly? You once made such a heartfelt promise to me at the flower-filled pavilion, swearing to love me forever. Jiang Lang, you're truly heartless." Seeing she was delirious from the fever, I quickly covered her mouth, fearing someone might hear through the walls. If word got out, we might not even have charcoal for the fire this winter. However, her next few words made my legs go weak, nearly causing me to collapse. "Thank goodness I replaced your legitimate daughter. Now your precious legitimate daughter treats me like her own mother, letting me beat and scold her every day." The paper on the window was torn, and the cold wind blew in. I shivered involuntarily as the truth gradually unfolded. Everything that had been unreasonable finally made sense. No wonder. From childhood onward, my stepmother had never shown me a single kind word. She had brainwashed me, telling me I was the daughter of a concubine, unworthy of respect, and that I had to always give way to my legitimate sister. On the day my elder sister fell ill, she didn't copy my homework for the first time, and I was praised by the teacher for the first time. When I returned home and shared the good news, she tore my notebook to shreds, saying that my elder sister was ill and I had the nerve to write homework instead of rushing to take care of her. She called me an ungrateful brat who couldn't be raised properly. Then she sent me to my older sister's side, forcing me to serve her alongside the other servants. running around non-stop. After thinking about it over and over again, I never once imagined that the woman standing before me was not my real mother. No wonder she flew into such a rage when she heard about my older sister's broken leg, slapping me and screaming, "Why wasn't it you who broke your leg?" She even developed a high fever, something she'd never done before. That was her real daughter, Jiang Xining. Lu Shi. In my previous life, one of you tortured and killed me, while the other stole my identity, forcing me to live like a dog for all those years. In this life, it's time for payback. I will make you pay 100-fold, 1,000-fold for what you did to me. The next second, I looked coldly at her, poured the soup into the chamber pot with one hand, and left the room. A plan quietly formed in my mind. Early in the morning, I went to my stepmother's room. She had just learned that Jiang Xining had broken her leg and had fainted from worry. Now, seeing her face look much better, my heart finally settled. Looking at the woman before me, dressed in a light blue gown, her smile gentle as water, the woman I had called stepmother for over a decade, with her dignified and noble features, was my biological mother. I clenched my teeth to hold back the tears, daring not to cry. I knew that the time was not yet right. I must not alert them prematurely. The best course of action was to continue with my plan and eventually eliminate Jiang Xining and the Lu family once and for all. After exchanging a few words with my stepmother, I urged her to take care of her health. Stepping out of the room, I made my way to Jiang Xining's courtyard. Today, she was already able to walk slowly on her own. She was ordering her servants to buy shoes and socks for her 3-inch bound feet. I stopped her. Looking at her angry expression, I leaned close to her ear. "Sister, now that you have 3-inch bound feet, you should focus on more important matters. Do you really think that Zhao Ling only loves the little courtesan's pair of delicate feet? You're so foolish. She's a courtesan. How skilled must she be at seducing men behind closed doors? Sister, do you really think that just a pair of small feet can make Zhao Ling change his mind? Even if you're with Zhao Ling, who's to say he won't fall for someone else one day? Unless..." Seeing her deep in thought, I knew she had taken it to heart. So I quickly pressed on. "Unless you, sister, also become a seductive woman, making Zhao Ling unable to live a day without you. Then you would have firmly grasped Zhao Ling's heart." Hearing this, she was taken aback. "What do you mean, Xie?" I pretended to be concerned for her. "You must find a way to learn how to win a man's heart. His heart is either set on that little courtesan or that beautiful maiden. His tastes have been spoiled. Besides, if you truly love Zhao Ling, it would be better to marry him while your feelings are still strong. If you have a child with Zhao Ling, even if your father finds out, it will be too late to stop you. Then you and Zhao Ling can buy a private courtyard and live happily ever after." After hearing this, she tightly grasped my hand, her eyes brimming with joy. "Xie is right. Your concerns. I have indeed considered them as well. Before, I was worried about what would happen if we were discovered. But since you understand me, I no longer fear it. Though I am the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family, I do not covet this overwhelming wealth. The arts and various tedious lessons bore me to tears, and I cannot stand that dull-witted tutor. My father even wanted me to enter the Eastern Palace. Haha. Isn't that just rushing to flatter the crown prince so he can climb the ranks and get rich? But I'd be trapped in the palace for the rest of my life. I refuse. I don't care about those wealthy noblemen. They spend all day reciting those boring poems or practicing martial arts. How tedious. I only love my Zhao Ling. The moment he starts singing in that operatic voice, I'm completely captivated. Those peach blossom eyes are full of charm. Such a talented and handsome young man is exactly what I, Jiang Xining, want. Anyway, I'm the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family. My father is very wealthy. I won't marry for the sake of the Jiang family. Even if the sky falls, the Jiang family will bear the burden. I only want Zhao Lang. After hearing this, I nodded repeatedly and pinned a lotus flower in her hair. Sister, I'll help you to win her young gentleman. Jiang Xining took my advice. After much thought, she entered the brothel. The madam, seeing all the gold and silver, smiled broadly, her wrinkles piling up on her face. This is our flower queen, Lu Yun. She's naturally seductive. Learning martial arts from her. You've chosen the right person. Don't worry. I've arranged the most secluded room for you. No one will ever find you. Thus, Jiang Xining nursed her feet while learning, managing both tasks without neglect. Half a month later, she had indeed made significant progress. Her eyes and brows brimming with delicate allure. Especially her pair of jade-like feet, devoid of toes, were now white and tender, resembling a flawless piece of jade, tempting one to hold them in one's hands and admire them closely. She was eager to meet that actor. I smiled broadly and pushed her out the door. Sister, when Zhao Lang sees your stunning beauty and those delicate feet, he'll be captivated at first sight and unable to forget you. Back in the courtyard, Lu Shi had actually stopped running a fever. I didn't expect her to recover so quickly, and a trace of mockery flashed across my lips. The next moment, she grabbed my ear tightly, as if she wanted to twist it off. It's all your fault. Your older sister is now a cripple. Why didn't you stop her back then? Your father said she was destined for the Eastern Palace. That's the crown prince. If she becomes the crown princess, she'll be the future empress. Seeing that I remained unmoved, she feared I had discovered something. Her eyes darted around, and her tone softened instantly. Sia, if she lives a life of wealth and honor, our mother and daughter will never want for anything. Therefore, your mother commands you to take good care of her from now on. Do you understand? I pretended to be afraid and nodded quickly, feigning obedience. Mother is right. Sia and the eldest sister are both daughters of the Jiang family. We rise and fall together. Sia will take good care of the eldest sister. She finally nodded in satisfaction, then shook off my hand and sat before the bronze mirror, drawing her eyebrows, applying makeup, and painting her lips. I chuckled inwardly. If she knew that her beloved biological daughter was currently entangled in a passionate affair with a playboy actor, would she go mad on the spot? Rest assured, Lady Lu. Don't worry. I will make you witness everything. The position of Crown Princess of the Eastern Palace is mine this lifetime. Counting the days, there are less than 3 months left before the imperial edict orders the Jiang family's daughter to enter the palace. Jiang Xining had not returned home all night. However, the Jiang mansion had not noticed, as a maid was pretending to be her, lying on her bed. The maid was wearing her clothes, adorned with her headpieces, and her build was nearly identical to hers, especially since she had instructed the servants before leaving that, due to her broken leg, she was in a bad mood and did not wish to see anyone. Everyone assumed her foot injury hadn't healed yet and quietly accepted that she was resting in bed. I told her stepmother and father that I would take good care of her in the coming days. They were worried about disturbing her recovery, and since I had always followed her around like a servant, they trusted me to look after her. They felt reassured and rarely set foot in her courtyard. When she returned, I saw the red marks on her neck and the silk handkerchief stained with her virgin blood. I smiled. The handkerchief was embroidered with her name and the actor's name. I told her that their first time together was extraordinary, and she must treasure this precious item to show Zhao Lang how deeply she loved him. Then I quietly told her a story about a couple from 100 years ago. The woman finally married the man she deeply loved. On their wedding night, she placed a silk handkerchief beneath her, and day after day, She reverently kept the handkerchief stained with her virgin blood. As I told this love story, she looked completely captivated. A faint smile played at the corners of her lips. And that very day, she ordered a batch of silk handkerchiefs to be purchased. Seeing her go to such great lengths, I feigned admiration. Sister is following the example of ancient lovers, using a silk handkerchief as a token of affection. Even someone of your noble status is willing to make such a sacrifice. He must be deeply moved. To make it even more unique, she added her name, which she had embroidered stitch by stitch with her own hands. Turning away, she locked the silk handkerchief in a treasure box and placed the key in her sleeve. She didn't know that in the pocket of my robe, there was an identical key. I stepped forward quietly, dismissed the maids, and took out a prescription. Holding a bowl of medicine in my hands, I said, "Sister, this medicine was prescribed by a renowned gynecologist at my request. If you take it after the fact, it will surely help you conceive soon." Lately, I had been covering for her. She saw that I was articulate and efficient, so she trusted me more and more. Moreover, every time I used the excuse of helping her settle her concubine, she grew more convinced that I was doing all this for the concubine's sake. So this time, she glanced at the prescription and saw that the herbs were indeed for fertility and harmless. So she didn't suspect a thing. She took it directly and drank it all in one gulp. Once she did it once, she did it again and again, and many more times afterward. Jiang Xining spent all her time with that Zhao Lang, spending less and less time at the Jiang mansion. And she, whose heart was entirely on that actor, didn't notice that the gold, silver, jewels, and pearl ornaments in her room were slowly disappearing. I took advantage of her absence with her maidservant to sell all these jewels and ornaments, exchanging them for calming medicine for lute. Yes, I have no money. Lute is not favored, and the servants don't treat her well either. To buy food and cosmetics, she has to spend a large portion of her allowance to tip the servants, who then buy her fashionable clothes. As for me, I wore whatever was left over from her or Jiang Xining. She wouldn't give me a single coin beyond that. She also did her best to keep me from seeing my father and stepmother, so they had no idea about my life. In truth, I was even worse off than the servants in the mansion. To arrange for people to do things, I had to sell off valuable items from Jiang Xining's room and exchange them for silver. Then I bought strong fertility drugs and calming medicine that could confuse the mind. If taken for a long time, this medicine would cause hallucinations and confusion. I fed her the medicine in Jiang Xining's name, saying that Jiang Xining had heard that she had just recovered from a serious illness and had specially asked a famous doctor in the capital to prescribe it. She said that drinking this calming soup would help her sleep well every night. Upon hearing that it was a gift from Jiang Xining, she immediately lit up with joy, praising Jiang Xining endlessly for being so filial and kind, and for remembering her, the lowly concubine in this side courtyard. As for me, I was nothing but a thankless dog. No matter how hard I tried, I could never compare to Jiang Xining, the true mistress. As I fed her the medicine spoon by spoon, a faint sneer curled at the corner of my lips. "Lute, you stole my life as a noblewoman for over a decade. Soon, you will witness with your own eyes how you have woven your own cocoon of destruction." Jiang Xining soon became pregnant. She returned joyfully, eager to share the good news with me. I pretended to be overjoyed, handing her a red paper, a marriage contract. "Sister, now that there's such joyous news, this is truly a great blessing. Since you're pregnant, there might be some inconveniences in the bedroom. At this point, you must hurry to secure Zhao Lang with marriage. If he can't resist and find someone else, where will you turn for solace?" Ever since I persuaded her to learn seduction techniques, she and Zhao Lang have been inseparable, living a life of blissful happiness, and no one has discovered their affair. The only person who knows about her relationship with the actor is me. And it must remain a secret. Therefore, she can only trust me. Faced with my words, she clutched my hand tightly, not expecting me to be so considerate and think of everything for her. So, she joyfully accepted the invitation, took out a set of watercolored silk dresses, and handed them to me. Thank you, sister, for thinking of me. This is a gift for you. On the day Zhao Lang and I get married, you must wear this dress and come in person to attend. I've prepared a special gift for you. Of course I had to go. This gift that would ruin my reputation was something I couldn't miss. What she didn't know was that every time she was with the actor, my men were outside, eavesdropping. And the day before, she and the actor had another passionate encounter. In her state of passion, she panted heavily, her voice seductive yet icy cold. Zhao Lang, that scheming younger sister of mine must not be spared. I cut off my own foot for you and have been with you in such intimacy. Yet only she knows. If she were to expose us, my father would certainly beat me to death. Only the dead cannot speak. When the young maid Leonor relayed these words to me without missing a single one, I was busy brewing calming medicine for Lady Lu. Upon hearing this, I accidentally touched the scorching medicine pot with my fingertip, instantly blistering my skin. Leonor rushed to cool the burn with cold water, scolding me for being so careless. Look, even though I've been reborn, and even though I know that my older sister from my previous life killed me with her own hands, cut off my limbs, pulled out my tongue, froze me into an ice sculpture, and finally sliced me into pieces with swords and knives. Hearing her say that she would kill me again to silence me for the sake of actor still causes a part of my heart to ache deeply. I once thought that if others harm me, and I seek revenge, wouldn't I become just as cruel as them? There was a thread of guilt and regret in my heart, and I even considered leaving the courtyard to fend for myself. But evil people who want to do harm won't spare me. If I let them go, they'll come back to bite me again, even taking my life. The last remnant of guilt in my heart vanished instantly. I raised my eyes, and the last trace of warmth was gone. I gently touched the blister caused by the burn. My eyes filled with coldness. No rush. Take your time. It's almost done. The next second, I added several times more to the calming soup. Jiang Xining would never have imagined that the beneficiary of the gift she had spent so much time preparing was not me, but the Lu family. That day, she spoke viciously to the actor, revealing her plan. She'll pass by the listening to Snow Pavilion tea house on her way, find a few men to knock her unconscious, then drag her into the tea house's storeroom, have those servants ruin her reputation, stuff her mouth shut, and make sure she can't scream. Take good care of her for the night. The next day, throw her onto the street. Her father will never let her back into the house. Then take her to the lowest brothel and sell her. Let her beg for death but find none. When I grow tired of her, I'll slit her throat myself. Remember, make sure her mouth is sealed. A concubine's daughter is no better than a slave. Even if she dies, no one will care. The next day, the person lying naked on the street was Lucier. Of course, I wouldn't attend Jiang Xining's wedding banquet. I told Lucier that Jiang Xining had invited her for tea. I personally pinned a pearl hairpin and a hairpin for a maiden on her head, then covered her face with a light veil, saying that it was fashionable to wear a veil while drinking tea. A new trend from the capital's noblewomen, and that Jiang Xining loved it. When she heard me mention Jiang Xining, and that Jiang Xining had actually invited her to tea, she couldn't stop smiling. She put on the watercolored brocade dress I had prepared for her and went off happily. She didn't know I was following her. The servant didn't recognize faces, only clothes. Seeing the dress she was wearing, he mistook her for me. They knocked her unconscious and dragged her away, then raped her all night in the woodshed. The next day, They left her on the street. Before she was found at the Jiang mansion, I took her to a separate courtyard. It wasn't out of sympathy for her, but because I still needed her to play a role. She lay on the bed, covered in bruises and wounds, having suffered all night. On top of that, I fed her a calming soup for a long time, which greatly stimulated her mind. She was still muttering something incomprehensible, repeating the word matchmaker. I moved my eyebrows slightly and secretly remembered this name, then fed her bowl after bowl of calming medicine. Counting the days, the imperial edict would arrive in 3 days. Meanwhile, Jiang Xining had not heard about my ordeal and returned to the Jiang mansion to see what had happened. Seeing me unharmed, her eyes filled with confusion, and she couldn't help but ask me, "Xia, how?" I pretended to sigh and then couldn't stop coughing. "Don't mention it. I caught a cold and had a high fever that night. I couldn't even walk properly. How could I attend your wedding? If I pass this illness on to you, it wouldn't be good." Seeing how convincingly I acted, the fleeting glimpse of cruelty in her eyes vanished instantly. She pretended to be regretful, told me to take care of myself, and hurried back to the actor's quarters. Watching her slightly pregnant figure, I put away my feigned sadness and let a smile slip from the corner of my mouth. It's almost time to reel them in. When the imperial edict arrived, I was feeding the fish. The Jiang family waited left and right, but Jiang Xining didn't show up. I volunteered to go find her, but I didn't go to her. Instead, I went to Lady Lu's courtyard. Mrs. Lu had drunk so many bowls of calming soup that she was already in a daze. When she saw me, she asked who I was. I said I was Jiang Xining and that I already knew she was my real mother and that I had come to claim her. Now that the imperial edict had been issued, she only had to insist that she was my real mother. And in order to maintain the prestige of the crown prince's mother's family, Zhang's father would definitely make her his co-wife. I helped her up. Now, with the clothes and hair ornaments I was wearing, I looked even more like Jiang Xining. Under the influence of the medicine, she mistook me for her own daughter. Her eyes lit up instantly, as if after years of endurance, the fruits of victory were finally within her grasp. She clutched my shoulders tightly. "My Xining, you finally understand my good intentions. Why should my child be a concubine's daughter? Inferior to others? She wasn't even born yet and already everyone was fawning over her. I couldn't stand it. So I chose the right time and bought the medicine. You two were born at the same time. Later, I had the wet nurse switch you too. Look, it's all because of me that you now live in luxury, can become the crown princess, and will one day be the empress. You're so filial, thinking to use this opportunity to have your nearly dead father elevate me to a concubine. After all, a biological daughter is better than that lowly Jiangxia. Just looking at her makes me sick." Watching her sing the song of the liberated serf with a smug expression, I suppressed a laugh and led her to the front hall. The show was about to begin. As everyone knelt on the ground, I quietly walked up to my father and whispered a few words in his ear. His face turned pale, and he dared not react, only forcing a smile as he pulled out a large ingot of silver and handed it to the eunuch who had delivered the imperial edict. Then, hunched over, he personally escorted him to the study for tea. When he returned, he dismissed everyone else, leaving only me and my legitimate mother. The next moment, his eyes filled with hatred as he kicked Lady Lu in the chest with all his strength. "You poisonous woman! You dare say Xia is the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family?" Lu sure collapsed in pain, coughing up a mouthful of blood. In her heart, she had endured all these years. Not only had her biological daughter become the legitimate daughter, but she was also set to become the crown princess, and eventually the empress. Her biological daughter had even acknowledged her, promising her a life of luxury and comfort. All the caution and restraint she had pretended for so many years vanished in an instant. Her eyes narrowed, filled with arrogance and triumph. "Yes. It's me. What can you do about it?" Xining said. "I can be the concubine. The Eastern Palace has set its sights on my Xining. She's about to become the crown princess. The future empress. How can the birth mother of the crown princess be a concubine? So, Jiang Lang, even if you don't want to, you must elevate me to be the concubine." Zhang's father was so enraged he clutched his chest, snapping off a thick branch to strike her. But the next moment, he was stopped by his legitimate mother. The legitimate mother looked at me with pity, but such a major matter required careful consideration. So she spoke up. "Lu Shi, you're just making things up. Do you have any evidence?" Lu Shi thought that becoming a concubine was a done deal. So she sat down on the ground without caring about her dignity and blurted out the words matchmaker. The matchmaker was the wet nurse from back then, who had been bribed by Lu Shi to swap me with Jiang Xining. The next moment, I clapped my hands, and the matchmaker walked in from outside the courtyard. Ignoring Lu Shi's shocked expression, she knelt before my father. Then she crawled toward the stepmother, crying and clutching her skirt. "Mistress, spare my life. When my father was ill, we had no money. Lady Lu said that if I swapped the two young ladies, she would give me 100 taels of silver to save my father's life. I had no choice at the time. I have regretted it ever since. I wanted to reveal the truth, but Lady Lu said that if I did, the Jiang family would certainly kill me. It wasn't until the real young miss found me that I realized how much suffering she had endured all these years. Now it's my fault. Even if the master and mistress beat me to death, I'll accept it." Miss Jiang has a small round red mark below her navel, and Lu's daughter had hers tattooed to match the miss's. "That's right. Since I was a child, there's been a small round red mark the size of a bean below my navel. From as far back as I can remember. Mrs. Lu warned me countless times that this must never be revealed to anyone. She said that my elder sister also had a similar birthmark, and if others found out, they would think it was a sign of disrespect toward her, making our lives even more difficult. As a child, I was innocent and believed everything she said, never once considering the possibility of a switch. Upon hearing this, my stepmother's eyes filled with tears, and she hurriedly pulled me to my feet. My father, however, was already boiling with anger, unable to believe that the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family had been swapped for someone else all these years. He suddenly remembered that Jiang Xining hadn't shown up, and he forced himself to suppress his anger as he asked me, "Where is Xining? Didn't you just go to fetch her?" I quickly knelt down and bowed my head, holding back the laughter that was about to spill out, and cried out loudly, begging my father for forgiveness. Sure enough, my father could no longer contain himself. He grabbed my shoulders tightly with both hands and almost shouted, "I'll ask you one last time. Where is Xining?" I pretended to be startled and panicked, and a blood-stained silk handkerchief and the marriage contract fell out of my sleeve. As my father picked them up and read the words, his face turned bright red with anger. I quickly pretended to be afraid and bowed my head repeatedly to my father. My sister is with the actor Zhao Lang. They have already married in secret. Father, please don't be angry. And don't blame my sister. My sister is already nearly 3 months pregnant. This was likely the most chaotic day in the history of the Jiang household. Madame Lu went mad, disregarding her dignity as she berated me with curses, accusing me of being a lowly woman who couldn't bear to see her elder sister happy and that I must have made up these lies. The legitimate mother couldn't believe it. The daughter she had raised with such care for over a decade had secretly become pregnant by an actor. My father, enraged, spat out a mouthful of blood and nearly fainted, causing everyone to rush to summon a doctor. My father glared at Lu Shi, who was still berating me. then grabbed a whip and lashed her viciously. "You venomous woman! How dare you swap the eldest daughter? You have the nerve! Didn't you say she was your daughter? Go! Take Sia and all the servants with you and go there immediately. I want to see for myself what kind of actress has brought my daughter from the Jiang family to such a disgraceful state. Seize her! Bring her here!" Several lashes landed on Lucia, who couldn't dodge in time. One lash struck her face, instantly breaking the skin, while her back was already raw and bleeding. Seeing her father so enraged, all the servants dared not utter a word, quickly restraining Lucia and escorting me to the actress's quarters. When everyone arrived, the scene that greeted them was Jiang Xining and the actress lying naked on the bed, engaged in passionate lovemaking. Lucia let out a piercing scream and lunged at the actress, clawing and scratching her. The actor, in pain, kicked Lucia, while Jiang Xining shielded him the entire time, until the three of them were in a chaotic tangle. With a piercing scream from Jiang Xining, the chaos finally ceased. Jiang Xining was bleeding from her lower body, and the blood dripped onto the jade-colored silk bedding, so bright and vivid. It was just like the day she killed me, with her lips as red as blood. As the servants dragged the three of them back, the eunuch delivering the imperial edict had already grown impatient. Watching my father grovel and apologize, yet frantic behind the scenes, I curled my lips into a smile, stood tall, and walked straight to the two of them, kneeling before them. "Please forgive me for causing you trouble, eunuch. My younger sister Sia is still young and ignorant. Everything is now under control. Please do not hold today's incident against us." Jiang Xining, the legitimate daughter of the Zhejiang provincial governor, kneel and receive the imperial decree. After speaking, I presented a stack of thick silver notes with both hands. My father froze in shock, unable to believe what he was seeing. Upon seeing the stack of silver notes, the eunuch's expression changed instantly. He forced a smile, saying he didn't want them, but his hands firmly took the silver notes and hid them in his sleeve. "Oh my! The daughter of the Jiang family is now the princess consort of the Eastern Palace. Your status is so exalted. This is truly humbling for an old servant like me. It's just a little delay." "It's no trouble at all." I remained kneeling on the ground, my eyes fixed on my father, a faint smile curving my lips. It seemed to say, "Father, look. I said I was Jiang Xining. Now, dare you say a single word against me?" Yes. I was taking a gamble. I was betting that he dared not tell my father-in-law about today's events. Disgracing the family was one thing, it was a capital offense. Besides me, Jiang Xining and my few older brothers in the mansion, there were no other sisters in the Jiang household. He had no choice. Moreover, I was the legitimate eldest daughter. My father finally lowered his head, trembling hands helping me to my feet. He knelt on the ground to receive the imperial edict, then uttered weakly, "This servant has paid his respects to the crown princess." I had become Jiang Xining. Or rather, Jiang Xining should have been me all along. In the dungeon of the Eastern Palace, I idly played with a bone-carving knife. When the disheveled person in front of me woke up, her first words were, "Where is my child?" I plunged the knife into her face with all my strength. Her face slashed and bleeding. My tone was cold and emotionless. "She's dead." Hearing her screams, I felt a sense of relief. "It's all your fault. You whore. You killed my child. I'll kill you." I burst into laughter, as if I had heard the funniest joke in the world. I stared intently into her terrified eyes and said slowly, "You forgot? When you were with that actor, your own mother, Lady Lu, went to beat him. In the chaos, your child was lost. Your beloved, that actor, was ordered by my father to be beaten to death with sticks and fed to the dogs. Humph. Before he died, He said it was you who seduced him. She stared at me in disbelief. Her eyes filled with venom, wanting to tear me to pieces. It's all your fault. You told my father. I regret not killing you sooner. From childhood on, my father always favored you secretly. I hate you with a vengeance. Jiang Xie. You're just the daughter of a concubine. Yet every time you spoke, my father listened to you. The next moment, she suddenly realized something. Her brows and eyes filled with panic. What did you say? My biological mother is Lucier? That's impossible. How could it be that lowly woman? This must be your conspiracy. I am the legitimate eldest daughter of the Jiang family. I am the legitimate eldest daughter. Give me back my child. Give me back Zhao Lang. I'll kill you. Kill you. Go to hell. I found her noisy and ordered the palace attendants to pry open her mouth, cut out her tongue, and throw it to the starving wolves that had been waiting for half a day. She fainted from the pain, just like in my previous life. I poured bowl after bowl of icy water over her until she regained consciousness. Then I drew my sword. The gushing blood splattered me, making my red robe even brighter. Do you know that in the previous life, you treated me this way? You cut off my limbs, cut out my tongue, poured ice water over me, and left me outside the palace to freeze to death overnight. By the next day, I had turned into an ice sculpture. No matter how I think about it, I can't understand why you treated me so cruelly. I respected and loved you so much, and I never did anything wrong. Why did you do this to me? Later, when I found out that Lady Lu was your biological mother, I finally understood. Evil people are evil, the seeds of evil are deeply rooted in your blood. To do evil. What need is there for a reason? So I don't bother to investigate why you were so cruel to me. I only know that in this life, anyone who has wronged me will not escape my vengeance. Now it's you. And next will be your biological mother. The Lu family. The next morning, after breakfast, the crown prince suddenly noticed an ice sculpture outside the hall. The ice sculpture was entirely blood red, frozen solid with the ice. Seeing his suspicious gaze, I covered my mouth and laughed softly. Just a lowly concubine who dared to climb into our bed in the middle of the night. He looked at the ice sculpture's face with disgust, as if he had seen a plague, then casually said, "Since she is such a seductive woman, my beloved concubine should just throw her into the mass grave. Don't let her scare you." He then draped a large cloak over me, his warm, strong hands holding mine. If I've frightened my beloved concubine, I'll be heartbroken. Come, I'll take you to pay respects to the Empress. In a lowly brothel, a woman with a scar on her face was being forced to serve a customer. My frozen head was handed to a vicious dog. She knelt before the madam, crying loudly and banging her head on the ground. "Please kill me. I can't take it anymore. They're like demons. I don't want to live. They choke me, bite me, stab me with bamboo skewers, and beat me with whips. Please, just kill me." The old madam, with her face covered in fat and her blood-red lips moving, dragged her back into the room like a dog. "You worthless slut. You're truly ungrateful. The kind-hearted princess consort spared your worthless life. You should be grateful. Yet you dare to think of death? The princess consort specifically ordered us to keep a close eye on you. You must not die. Otherwise, it will be our heads on the chopping block. You'd better behave yourself and atone for your sins." End of the story.